Hey everyone! Today I'm going to show you how to register a subdomain and then use dynamic DNS through our platform Dynamix. So first you need to create an account and log in. I'm already logged in, so I'm going to go ahead and click on the Dynamic DNS tab. This screen allows me to register a new subdomain and have it point to my home server's IP address, which could change in the future because most residential connections have dynamic IP addresses. But I can also use a custom domain name if I have one and want to use dynamic DNS with my own domain. But for the purposes of this demo, I'm going to show you how to register your own subdomain. So to add a subdomain to my account, I click on this button here, and I'm going to go ahead and create home.dynex.me, and then the IP address defaults to the current IP address of the user entering this information, which could be your home server's IP address, but if you need to specify a different IP address, you can. But for my purpose, this is my home IP address, so I'm going to click on Save. So now, home.dynex.me has been associated with my account and resolves to my home server's IP address. And I'm going to go ahead and show you that it's working. So as you can see, it resolves to my home server's IP address. And so now, if my server's IP address were to change, I need to run the software that is available for download, which is free to use. So if I'm on a Windows server, I can run the Windows client, which detects IP address changes and then calls our API using the key that's in your account, or I can use the Linux client. And since my home server is a Linux server, I need to use the Linux client. So I've already downloaded this file, and I've replaced the key with the account key that I can get from the page, the dynamic DNS page, and I put that in the script. And so I've also created a cron job now, which this is all explained here. And so if my IP address were to change, the API would be called, and the home.dynex.me subdomain that I added earlier would still resolve to my home server's IP address. So you have to make sure that you use the client as well on the server, so that way it detects that IP address changes, since your IP address could change at any time. So now that I have home.dynex.me pointed to my home server, what can I do with it? Well, I can set up a website on using that subdomain, and the way I would do that is I would configure it on a web server to resolve that name. Now, there's different web servers you can install depending on your server operating system, but in Linux, I like to use EHCP Force Edition. And there's a link to that free open source software in the description below that shows you how to install it, set it up, and use it. And it's pretty easy, and it offers a control panel via web interface to allow you to do pretty much everything you need to host websites. So I've already set it up, and so I'm going to go ahead and add that domain to my account. So if I add home.dynex.me and click on Submit Query, the web server has now been configured to render a site. But right now it's going to render the default configuration that EHCP uses, but I could always upload different HTML files or PHP files and have it render a whole different site. So I'm going to show you that if I go to home.dynex.me, it's going to resolve the default website page, which I can replace. So basically now, through dynamic DNS, I have a subdomain that resolves to my server. And here's another advanced thing you can do is anything.your subdomain or anything.your domain that you've associated with your account will resolve to your home server. So if I wanted to create a subdomain off of this subdomain, it is totally possible. So I'm going to show you how to do that too in EHCP Force. So when I go to click on Add Subdomain, if I wanted test.home.dynex.me to resolve and show a different website than home.dynex.me, I can do that. So that's been created and added in my account. Now if I were to go there, you'll see that it is going to resolve, and it's going to show a little bit different default web page, which I can replace and do something special with. So as you can see, it says subdomain under construction because it's technically a subdomain, and then this one is website under construction, but both resolve, and so they're very advanced. This is a very advanced feature, but it's totally possible to have a subdomain off of your own subdomain that resolves to your home server so that you can set up forums or something different. So that's just some advanced functionality that I wanted to show off.